Hello everyone, my name is Zach. I am the Traveling Man, and over the past year I have spent 35 nights sailing in one of the most controversial staterooms at sea. There's a lot of talk about this stateroom. A lot of folks hate them, I've learned. There's certainly been a number of issues and problems with these staterooms, enough so that we're going to need to talk about it. So in this video, we are going to talk about the problems, including one big problem that I experienced recently with the Infinite Veranda staterooms on board Celebrity Cruises Edge class of ships. So let's get right into this video and talk about it a bit. Back in 2018, Celebrity Cruises premiered their brand new ship, the Celebrity Edge, and this was a revolutionary ship for the cruising industry. Nothing like this had ever been seen on the ocean before. In my opinion, the Celebrity Edge class of ships are some of the best cruise ships, at least the ones I've experienced at sea. Now, the Celebrity Edge class of ships included a lot of firsts, things never seen at sea before, and one of these things was the Infinite Veranda staterooms, and this was actually one of the things, the earliest things I can remember ever knowing about the Celebrity Edge. In all the videos and all the promotion they did for this ship, it seemed like this was the thing that they featured the most. Being able to walk right up to the sea in your stateroom essentially being infinite, meaning it's open-ended, you can look out and see the ocean, there's not an actual door that you have to walk outside to be right up close near the ocean. And certainly these staterooms are amazing for that reason. Like I said, 35 nights I've spent inside one of these staterooms across all three of the Celebrity Edge class ships. That's the Celebrity Edge, the Celebrity Apex, and the Celebrity Beyond. And in 2023, I'll get to stay in one again when I experience Celebrity's brand new Edge class ship, the Celebrity Ascent, which is currently slated to premiere in December of 2023. Now, these staterooms are absolutely beautiful. They're like nothing else I've ever seen at sea before. It's very nice to be right up next to the ocean. You have a floor to ceiling window in your room essentially, and what happens is that top window comes down to just about the middle, so it creates like a balcony. But it's not all good. There are problems that have been identified by many cruisers, and these are certainly things that I've experienced myself, and now it seems like there are new problems, at least for me, and to some of the people that have commented on my recent videos, it might be a big problem for the Infinite Veranda stateroom. The first complaint and problem that people have about these is just the obvious. There's no door, there's no actual balcony that you can walk outside on. A lot of people, when they book a balcony or veranda stateroom, they like to have a door in their cabin they can actually walk outside and be outside. And you don't have that with the Infinite Veranda. You're always inside. You're still inside the superstructure of the ship. You're essentially just opening a window in your room and being able to stand in that open window, and then you can crane your head out and sort of look either way and feel like your head's outside, but you're never actually outside, and a lot of people have a problem with that. Now, the problem with this is that most of the cabins on board Celebrity Edge class ships are Infinite Veranda staterooms. There are very few standard balconies, and what I mean by standard balcony is an outside balcony essentially. You're actually walking through a door and going outside. And these are typically found in the suites that are on board the ships, the Sky Suites, the Celebrity Suites, the Edge Villa, of course. And then also there are some verandas that they call sunset verandas, and these are off the back of the ship, and these are your outdoor verandas also. So if you're going on the Celebrity Edge class of ship and you want a typical outside balcony or outside veranda, you want what all the other cruise lines have when you're getting a balcony stateroom, you want to make sure you book in one of the sunset verandas. You book in a suite, and then they also have a porthole veranda, and these porthole verandas are outside verandas, but there is a kind of like a porthole. You're in the superstructure of the ship. It kind of reminds me a lot of the cove balconies that are on Carnival Cruise Lines and a lot of the Carnival Corporation ships. So I think that's probably the biggest complaint that folks have with the Infinite Veranda staterooms, is that it's not an actual balcony. You're not actually outside. Another problem with these, and one that I've experienced certainly sailing 35 nights in one, is that it can get very hot in the afternoon. Because you do just have a floor-to-ceiling window, you are directly exposed depending on what way the ship's facing. If you're facing the sun, your room is directly exposed, it's letting in sunlight. It's not like when you have a balcony, because when you have a balcony, you know, you have that much, you're that deep inside of the ship, and that sort of shades you a bit. The sun's rarely ever shining directly into your room and warming up the room. But with the Infinite Veranda, it can get really hot. There are a couple of ways that you could combat this, certainly. There is the shade that comes down. across the Infinite Veranda, and that you can pull that down in the afternoon to shield some of the sun, but then you lose your view of the ocean. Whereas if you had a standard balcony room, you would still be able to see the ocean and also still have the shade that being deeper in the ship provides. Another way to combat the sunlight coming right into your room and that heat warming up, they do have the doors, the panel doors that you can close to close off the Infinite Veranda. Now this will cut down the amount of space that you have in the cabin. It will also, again, take away your view of the ocean and take away the perk of having that Infinite Veranda, that floor to ceiling window. So these are two options, but they're never viable options for me, because if I'm in my room, I want to be able to see the ocean. So I'm never completely shutting that shade all the way down or closing those doors in order to keep the heat out. I just suffer through it and make it really hot. Turn up the air conditioner, but still be hot somehow because the sun's hitting you directly in an Infinite Veranda. So that's another one of the problems that people have. The other problem with the Infinite Veranda staterooms also is related to weather. Essentially, if weather's too bad, maybe it's too windy, maybe you're going through a thunderstorm or it's a rainy day, but essentially the ship, someone on the ship can control your Infinite Veranda. They can close the window, they can lock the window in the Infinite Veranda. So essentially, you're stuck with just a floor-to-ceiling window. You are now in an ocean view cabin. You no longer have a veranda or a balcony of any kind if it's a day with bad weather. Whereas on most balconies, on most cruise ships, even if the weather's bad, you can still take a step outside onto your own balcony, but not so on Celebrity Edge class ships. If the weather dictates, if the weather's bad enough, they are going to lock that Infinite Veranda. You're not going to be able to lower it, and again, you're just going to be stuck with a floor-to-ceiling window. Welcome to your ocean view stateroom. So those are the typical common issues that I've heard people voice. These are reasons why a lot of people don't like the Celebrity Edge class of ships. As beautiful as they are, folks just like their standard balcony cabin when they go on a cruise. They like the ability of being able to go outside. I've never cared about that. I've enjoyed the Infinite Veranda staterooms. They've been my favorite. If you've watched my videos, you've seen me rave and go on and on about how awesome they are. So I've always enjoyed them until my recent cruise on Celebrity Apex, when I discovered a new problem that I'd not heard about before and I've never experienced myself, but it's certainly a huge problem, the biggest of all these that I've just mentioned, and something I'm going to think twice about before I book an Infinite Veranda in the future. Now, if you've watched some of the Celebrity Apex vlogs I already have here on my channel, you've already noticed that I was having an issue from day one on embarkation day. As soon as I walked into my room, one of the first things I like to do is go over to the window and open the window, let in the fresh air, take a moment and breathe, and just enjoy being back on a cruise ship. However, when I did this, the Infinite Veranda was broken. It wouldn't come down. I'll put some footage in here. You can see me. I'm pressing all the buttons. Nothing's happening. The only thing that would happen was the shade would come down. So instantly I knew I had a problem. There's something wrong with either the motor, the mechanics in this window. Something's faulty, something's wrong. And again, we'll contrast this to having a standard balcony. If you have a standard balcony, what can go wrong? Because you just have a door. So unless the door somehow is locked from the outside so that you can't open it, you're going to be able to access your balcony. But there's a lot that can go wrong mechanically with the Infinite Veranda, because there's a lot of components to it. Certainly there's the window itself that runs on a motor that has to come down, but also there's the shade in front of that, and that shade has to be all the way up. It has to be in the locked position before it'll allow the window to come down. So if either of those are broken, you're not going to be able to open your Infinite Veranda. And then what happens? Well, in my case, not a lot. You're stuck with a broken Infinite Veranda stateroom for the course of your cruise, apparently. Because as soon as that was broken, as soon as I discovered that was an issue, I marched down to guest services. And it's embarkation day, so there were a lot of people at that line. And when it's finally my turn, I waited a good 20 or 30 minutes. I go up and I say, hey, my Infinite Veranda is broken. I walk through the problem. And they just get on the phone and call my room steward and tell my room steward. So it's now his problem. So I go back upstairs, I meet my room steward, they call the electricians come, they say, oh yeah, it could be this thing or that thing. They reset the breaker, the electrical breaker in the room that resets the Infinite Veranda. Ta-da, it's working. Okay, awesome, thank you for fixing it, great. The next day, I get up, the same problem. The shade won't go up, it just stops about midway up, and because the shade won't go up, the window won't come down. So I leave a note in the cabin that day for my room steward because I had like an early excursion. I say, hey, the window's broken, can we get it fixed? I come back later in the day expecting it'll be fixed. It's not fixed. I talked to my room steward, he said, yeah, I'll let the electricians know, they just haven't come yet. So I go back to guest services, tell them, hey, it's still broken and no one came. I notified them this morning. It's now been, 7 or 8 hours later. Nothing's happened. I was like, can I please move? I'm just requesting to move. I picked a room. No one was around me. I knew I had no neighbors on either side. Can I just move a door or two down? I wasn't even asking to be upgraded or anything unreasonable like that. I just wanted a room with a working Infinite Veranda because I was on a 12-day cruise and I didn't want this to be a problem for the entire cruise. And their response was just to let the electricians do their thing and fix the window. So I go upstairs, the electricians come, they reset the breaker again, ta-da, the window is working. But I'm like, at this point, I'm like, but what if it breaks again? What's gonna happen? They were like, well, we'll have to replace the entire window motor unit. That'll take a few hours. We'll just ask that you not be in the room while we do that. So at that point, I wasn't very confident that the window was going to be operational for the remainder of the cruise. But also in my mind, I was like, well, when am I going to discover this problem, let the electricians know, and then have 3 hours to be out of my room so that they can come in and fix this? What if something goes wrong and it's longer? That just seemed like a pretty big inconvenience to be out of my room for a few hours when I'm on the ship. Now, if it were during an excursion or something, that would be different. But if it's on a sea day or in the evening or something like that, chances are I'm probably going to need access to my room. So shortly after that, guest services called and they said, did they fix the problem? I said, well, it's temporarily fixed again because they reset the breaker. Same thing they did yesterday. So I'm not hopeful that it's going to continue to be operational. And I asked again, I was like, very politely, is it possible for me to move to a room down the hall here beside me somewhere? Since there is availability, all these rooms are open. And again, they were like, no, let's just work it through the electrician. So after that, I was pretty disheartened because I was like, I know it's going to break again, so I need to just figure out a way to keep it operational as much as possible. So that's what I did. So for the remaining, 9 or 10 days of the cruise, I just had to make my own workaround. I never reported it to guest services again. I never said anything to anyone else because in my mind, I've paid north of $6,000 to be in this stateroom. That's how much that stateroom cost for me, a solo cruiser, for this sailing, a 12-night sailing. North of $6,000. And we've gone 2 or 3 days into the cruise now, and the answer is just, let's just keep doing this back and forth. Get the electricians come, reset the breaker, let's do this, let's do this. So I didn't want to waste any more of my precious cruise time, letting folks come into my room and do this or that. I just said, I'll do the best I can, and that's essentially what I did. And as a result, I didn't use the Infinite Veranda as much this sailing. I didn't think that the issue was handled appropriately by the cruise line, or it was like, I told them, 2 or 3 different occasions, I told guest services of the issue, and their response was always, let's call the electricians and get them to come in. And then their best solution was me being out of the stateroom for a certain amount of time so that they could work on the Infinite Veranda. So that didn't instill much hope in me that the issue would actually be fixed. So I thought it best just to do the best I could and get through that cruise operating the Infinite Veranda as best I could to my ability. So those are the big issues with the Infinite Veranda staterooms. And of course, now this biggest one being the issue that I had recently on the Apex. I'm curious to know though down in the comments, what do you think about the Infinite Veranda staterooms? Have you sailed in them? Have you had issues with them before? One of the reasons that I chose to make this video is because after I put in my first couple of vlogs from the Celebrity Apex cruise that I just went on, a lot of people were commenting and saying, yeah, I had issues with the Infinite Veranda also on a recent cruise I was on. So I'm just curious if this is becoming a more common problem and that the mechanical issues are turning more and more people away from the Infinite Veranda staterooms. And I think these Infinite Veranda staterooms could potentially become the standard in cruising as more and more new ships are put out onto the ocean. Specifically with Royal Caribbean, because of course Royal Caribbean and Celebrity Cruises are operated by the same parent group. I have heard rumors that perhaps starting with Utopia of the Seas and newer builds on out from that these could include these Infinite Veranda type staterooms. Whether you like them or not, I think we're going to see more of these out on the ocean sooner rather than later. So let me know what you think about that down in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you've enjoyed it, found it informative. If you did, make sure you go down below, give me a thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I have a lot more cruise content to come very soon. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next adventure.